Hello class, this is Mr. Broussard. I'm sending you this video for the final week of our World Literature course for the fall of 2020. Hope you're all as excited to be almost done with everything as I am to also be almost done with everything. But we do have a few last assignments that must be taken care of before the course itself ends. So I just want to make sure we go over those because this class officially ends on Friday, and that's why you have just these last two assignments to finish up. The first of which is the Taming of the Shrew final test that requires a Respondus lockdown browser and a webcam. This is what we would normally have had as a proctored exam that you would have come to this campus or a different campus or a campus, whoever has the ability to do the proctored exams, and you would have assigned, you would have signed up for a time to do that. Well, all of those slots due to the coronavirus and everything dealing with that were already taken up for this long before this class even started. In fact, the very first week of classes, they were all gone before I could have done that for any of my classes because none of my classes began until about 5 days after the rest of the school did, and it was already gone by that point. So what we were able to do is hook up with the Respondus people, which allows us to pretty much do the proctored exam, but from the comfort of your own home, from your own computer or from a computer, so long as you make sure, and this is mandatory, by the way. First thing, the entire quiz is mandatory. You don't do the quiz, you fill the course out right. Every online course has to have at least one proctored and or like proctored quiz every single semester. It basically allows us to know that you actually exist and that you don't have somebody else doing your work for you. If we see a drastic drop in the grade from what you have been producing in this course to this quiz, and it causes us to kind of wonder maybe you've had other people doing your work for you, we reserve the right to fail you outright if we want to, or to make you do over all the different work and have an incomplete for the course. So if there's a drastic drop, it's going to make us wonder whether you have been you the whole time. Now, if there's drastic raise, that's no problem. In fact, all that tells us is that you do a lot better when it comes to quizzes with general literature than you do writing about it. And it's about the same. And I say drastic drop. I'm talking like if you're an A student and then you got a 50-something on this quiz for sending something, then I'm like, that's where it makes me wonder. Particular, let's say if you did the Taming of the Shrew for your last essay, the Taming of the Shrew 10 Things I Hate About You, which almost all of you did, by the way. So you had the options, and overall of those essays, they were pretty good. There were a few that weren't so good, and a few of you decided to not put forth full effort, and your grade reflected that. Some of you violated rules left and right, and your grade reflected it. It was a mixed bag. I had some really good grades and some not so good grades on that one. All of the issues I think I've saw on that essay come straight down to, and I can tell these things through your essays. You just want to be done with it, so you just kind of ball something up and throw it at me. Well, unfortunately, your grade will reflect that, and if you don't follow the proper rules, it can be a horrible negation to your grade or even a straight zero, and some of you experienced that. Which leads me to this very small rant. Never tell your instructor you think you deserve some different grade, or that the whole idea of you did something major that caused you to earn a zero, and you don't think you deserve to earn a zero because, quote unquote, you did something. That's the last thing you should ever say to your instructor. I go off on a rant about if I stopped teaching this class and started doing yoga, they're not paying me to teach yoga here. It would violate my contract that they have me sign here, in that I'm teaching something that, I'm teaching something, and I could say, hey, I did something, I'm teaching something, but that's not what they hired me for. Real world doesn't care if you did something. If you did the thing wrong and did it egregiously enough to where it totally takes out everything else, then yeah. And it could be as simple as not having your name on an essay, not indenting any paragraphs. These are things that you shouldn't get out of elementary school doing these things, more or less in college, and especially not in a class like this that is a sophomore level course. So the whole idea, but I did something, like I said, if I started teaching yoga, my bosses would be like, No, we didn't hire you to teach yoga. We hired you to teach English, so do the job we hired you for. And then if I refuse because I did something and they should give me credit for something, they will wish me well in my future endeavors, which is the kind way of saying we're not renewing your contract, which is basically the way of, it's not a firing because technically I would no longer be under contract, but it's basically we're waiting to get rid of you and do it legally so there's no recourse on your end, which is what they would do if I were to stop teaching English and start teaching yoga. Hence why the I did something is the worst excuse you can come up with. But I did something. You could do a million things, 99.9% of things right on it, and yet you do something so fatally wrong on any type of work. It can be an automatic zero just for that one thing. Those things I mentioned, not having your name on an essay. And you're like, but my name's in the upper right hand corner on the Canvas thing. No, I have to treat that on the screen like it's a sheet of paper in front of me. And if your name's not on that sheet of paper in front of me, who do I give the grade to? And I'm not going to go guessing. And no, that doesn't count even if you have page headers. And so I see that last name's up there. No, there's no name on it. These things should be so automatic. The fact that they don't show up makes me wonder other things, to be brutally honest. And then, yeah, not indenting any. You can miss a paragraph. You can miss even 2 paragraphs. Miss more than 2, you deserve the grade you get. You miss all of them. If you don't indent a single paragraph, you just have a massive block of words. Do understand that paragraph structure is highly important. Therefore, if I can't totally tell where it is, and I'm not going to put more effort than I need to as someone who's looking at these essays and trying to figure out where a paragraph ends and where it begins, when the natural beginning of a paragraph is to indent the paragraph, that's on you and you deserve your grade. So please. I've been doing this for over 9 years now, and when I get that whole but I did something, I have to get back in and try to be calm as I explain these things to you, because yes, you can get 99.9% of something right, but if the 0.1% of something you do wrong is so wow, and not indenting a paragraph or not having your name on an essay is wow, that's all it needs to take all the rest of that 99.9% and chunk it in the garbage. Because if certain, that's why I like the students. A lot of y'all have excellent content, amazing content when you write. And you have your structure, and you've got your structure to where it is exactly as it needs to be. And yet, if you have such a disaster in the spelling, grammar, punctuation, usage area, it can shoot a hole in your essay. In fact, your class and the Comp 2s are actually lucky because there's so much looked at when you're dealing with the literature of a Comp 2 or World Lit like this class. We delve in those areas, and therefore those areas need points that are taken away from other areas. Whereas in the Comp 1, those areas are mainly in the spelling, grammar, punctuation, usage areas. In Comp 1, it's 7 points per level. In this class and in your Comp 2s, when you took that, it was only 4 points per level. Can that make a difference? Yes, because in Comp 1, if you nail, or in this class and in Comp 2, if you nail all the other areas but miss out everything on spelling, grammar, punctuation, usage, it can be either 81 or an 84. Low B, still good, definitely passing and still good, but you could do better. You're basically just an edit and a proofread away from at least an A, if not a high A, if not 100. If you don't do it, and there you go. And that's 1 to 2 letter grades just lost, just like that. In Comp 1, it's a 68 because it's 7 points per level. 68, so the 4 levels plus then the 4 points because it deals with grammar, spelling, punctuation, usage, and the individual mistakes themselves. And I count those as typographical issues. If there's individual small mistakes, if there's a bunch of mistakes or you have a fatal error, then I count it as one whole level. So, which brings up another point. How are y'all still writing in the second person? How? You're sophomores. This should have been, if you had me before, you definitely know not to do that. An individual writing an essay, by the very nature of laws in physics and science, it is impossible for an individual writing an essay to be in the second person. You're either yourself, I, blah, 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 or even outside of yourself, he, blah, 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 third person, not you. You can't go outside of yourself and say you. It doesn't work. And you definitely can't be in yourself and saying you at yourself. So when that pops up, that's fatal error. Some of you I noted comma splices. Also a fatal error. That's when you have a comma separating two independent clauses, when you should either have a semicolon separating them, the comma plus a according conjunction, therefore making the second of the independent clauses dependent, or in punctuation at the end of the first independent clause, capitalize the first word of the second independent clause and make them two completely different sentences. It's the same way you correct a run-on sentence. The only difference in the run-on sentence is the run-on sentence has nothing there, whereas the comma splice has a comma there. And then, of course, not having a complete sentence at all. That's not really an issue I've seen out of y'all. But I've definitely seen the comma splices, and I've definitely seen the second person writing, and I shouldn't be seeing that in a college course, and I really, 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 really should not be seeing that in a sophomore level college course. I'll tell you right now, some of you have better grades than you deserve, because had this been any other semester that I've ever taught this class, you would have earned zeros on just having it once. Because my rule is, once you get a sophomore level course, if you don't know that you shouldn't be writing in the second person, and you don't know to avoid comma splices and run-on sentences, those are fatal errors for a reason. Fatal as in death to your essay as in zero. And had this been any other semester, it would have been zeros. But I'm trying to be more accommodating because of the situation with COVID and the way things are going. So I just deemed you the entire level on the spelling, grammar, punctuation usage, and eventually I couldn't take any more points off because the rubric won't let me. That meant a lot of y'all end up earning 81s or 84s, depending on if you have that extra little spot for the individual mistakes in typographical. You should be thankful for that, because you're someone with an 81 or an 84, and you should have a zero. And you be honest, you deserve that zero. You should have earned that zero. But because I'm trying to be a little more mindful of these things, considering it's fully online, most people's whole semesters are online. Just the situation as a whole, I'm being that little extra nice, and I'm already regretting it, quite frankly. I may not be able to be that nice in future semesters simply because now I'm dealing with this. So be thankful I'm being as nice as I am. As much as you may be thinking I'm being too harsh, I'm actually being nicer than I've ever been, because it's real easy just to go zero, click, boom. Because you're doing things you should not be doing as sophomores. You are sophomores. Whether your official designation is one at all, which you might not be. Maybe you took Comp 1 at your local high school, and then took Comp 2 here, and then so this is only really your second semester, so technically you're still a freshman. Well, no, you're in a sophomore level English course, and certain things are expected of you. So when you don't dent your paragraph, you deserve a zero. When you don't have your name on the essay, you deserve a zero. Quite frankly, you deserve zeros if you ever have the word you, your, yours anywhere on your essay, unless it is in quote marks for a legitimate reason, either as direct lines in a narrative, or like with this class, if you're quoting lines from the characters and they say you, that's perfectly fine. But the individual writing the essay cannot be in the second person, therefore you cannot say you. And when you do, be thankful I'm only dinging you 4 or 7 points instead of what you should have gotten, which is 0 click, because you shouldn't be doing these things. Same thing with the comma splices. Again, not really seeing the issue in run-on sentences or not having complete sentences, at least thankfully. But the two fatals I'm seeing a lot are comma splices and writing in the second person, which is the use of you or any form of you in an area which you shouldn't be doing it, i.e. first person or third person. You shouldn't flip between first and third. You should be first person, maintain first throughout, or start in third and maintain in third throughout. You shouldn't go between those two, and you should never lapse into second, nor, of course, stay in second the whole time, which is the other issue you see. So please have that in mind, because, yeah, okay, you got away with some things in this class. You're not going to get away with those things in more advanced level courses if you end up taking them. Trust me, and definitely not at a university, which I do hope that many, if not all of you, do end up at a university. They will not be as kind, unless we have a situation similar to this one. Even then, they might not be as kind as I have been. And yes, believe it or not, as much as a jerk as I'm sounding right now, this is me being nice, because I'm allowing things that shouldn't be allowed, and only to a point. I can't. Again, if it's one of those things that you should have known going into college, you hurt your grade, but not completely as fatal as it should be. If you're doing things you should have learned when you were in elementary school, yeah, you deserve your 0. You deserve it, and you've earned it. That's the number one thing. Another thing, never say you're given a grade to to your instructor. You will, as much as I did something angers your instructor, you know, saying that I gave you something, that the instructor gave you something, the professor gave you something, really makes them happy. You earn every grade you get. You deserve every grade you get. So please have that understanding, and definitely have that understanding if you get to university, because they really, you're just a number there. So have that in mind for any and all work in the future. And that includes what we have here, because we still have two last things that you need to do for this class. One of which is the Taming of the Shrew quiz that, again, as I said before, you can take on your own person. It has been available since November the 30th, and you have until December the 10th at 4:59 p.m. So you have the rest of today, all of tomorrow, and a great deal of Thursday until 4:58 p.m. that afternoon. You can still have it completed. At 4:59 p.m., it will lock you out. So this thing needs to be started no later than 2:58 p.m. And my highest advice, quite frankly, is that you get it done either today or tomorrow, before you go to bed tomorrow. Because if you wait till the last minute, things will happen, craziness will happen, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, I can't get this done. And then you're going to be begging and pleading me for an extra chance, and you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it, because you will have had 10 whole days to get this done. You will not have gotten it done, and you had the ability to do it from the comfort of your own home, and you still didn't get it done. And I'll also be in the middle of grading your essays. And when I get in Friday, basically I'm going to plug in zeros for those who didn't do this, then put the Fs in automatically, because if you do not do this, and then if you earn a zero for any reason on this Taming of the Shrew quiz, you fail the course outright. You just fail the course outright, even if your earned grade is higher than a 58.5, simply because if you are earning a zero on the one bit of work that you have in this course, to where we know you are who you are, it's going to make us think you can pull in wool over our eyes the entire semester, or in this case, half semester, because it's an 8 weeks course. I'll just put an F and won't even bother grading your research essay, because it'll be a waste of my time. You will fail the course. So make sure you do this. Do well on it. Shouldn't have to go without saying. What can you do? Easy. Watch The Taming of the Shrew as much as possible. It's posted. You should have watched it at least once, if not more than once. Most of you, I'm pretty sure, almost all of you I know has watched it, simply because all but maybe 2 of you use Taming of the Shrew 10 Things Hate About You as your essay. So I know that you did this. But doesn't hurt to watch it again and then watch it again. My advice on all these things is to watch it at least 3 times. Like, by the way, my advice when you do have courses and once you do have quizzes, go over your notes 3 times, a 4th, even if need be, at least 3 times. So watch this 3 times, and then you should have everything you need to when you go and take that quiz, and you'll be able to knock it out pretty good. Obviously, pay attention. That's also key. You can watch something and then go zone off and look at something else, or go do this over here, or have earbuds in and listen to something else, and then you still bomb out royally. So make sure you take this and get it. It's a 2-hour quiz. It's 42 questions, 2 hours on Taming of the Shrew, and it is due for Thursday, December the 10th at 4:59 p.m. So make sure it's done by then. Again, if it's not done, you're in a zero and you fail the course outright. The last work in this course is the research essay. What you are to do here is take one of the 3 essays you've already done. My advice is probably the one you did the best on overall grade-wise. And then do the research you need to do to back up what you already have in the essay. The way I like to do things is, you have your response, you bring up one point of analysis, backing up with, the actual literature itself. And then you get to your essay, and then you have that 1 point of analysis, and you find 2 more points of analysis for a total of 3 points of analysis, all 3 of which backed up by the literature itself, and then at least 1,000 words. 1,000 words is the minimum, by the way. Some of you didn't get there and you lost points. And if you have less than 600 words, it's flat zero, by the way. If you didn't already know that, you should, because it's in your syllabus. But yeah, and then you have your regular essay, your points of analysis backed up by the literature itself. On this essay, you can take one of those 3 essays you've already done and then just back up what you already have with source material. So this allows you to come up with the ideas first, both in 1 and then 3, and back it up with the literature that you already have. Then, now what this allows you to do is to back up those ideas with source material from learned scholars who are knowledgeable in the areas in which you're dealing with. Now, that's key. Just because somebody has a PhD next to me doesn't mean they know what they need to know about the subject at hand, because you can have someone with a PhD, that PhD is in physics, and you're dealing with Shakespearean literature. That's not going to help you unless they also happen to have a PhD in Shakespearean literature. You have to make sure that they are knowledgeable in the areas that they are dealing with. Now, my highest advice to you on that is I would have all 3 of the sources, and you need at least 3. You can have more if you want, but at least 3. And I would have each and every one of the sources come from the library database, which I've already showed you the passcodes for. I'll show them again just to make sure. These are the passcodes to get to the different parts of our library database. Rather overkill than anything. I know it makes the videos long, and I know some of you are bored by it, but what I've learned is if I don't say it a gazillion times, you won't do it. Here are the passcodes for our library and all the things and I have the one part circled. If you ever need to use Films on Demand, that Infobase one, I think it's Infobase. Yeah, Infobase will also, that's the username and password for Films on Demand. So you have that ability to do so with that passcode as well. So there you are. And the reason I highly advise you use our database stuff is because all the extra things that you will have to do if you just go through the internet, general internet, you will have to check to make sure that the source itself is verifiable as an accurate. You have to make sure that the person it came from is learned in the area that you're dealing with, either through academic learnedness of having a PhD or the learnedness that comes from actual firsthand experience with whatever it is that you're dealing with. And then you also have to make sure there's been no issues with academic integrity violations from that individual. You have to make sure you do all those things if you go through just the regular internet. Obviously you need to watch out, make sure you're just not doing some random person's blog, unless that random person just happens to also have a PhD in the literature areas in which you're dealing with. And then you have to show that. You yourself would have to show that. Whereas if you use our database entries, that's all taken care of for you. And if there happens to be an issue, that is on us, not on you. So if you use our database, it's also a lot easier to find the information in going through our database than it would be trying to find it all yourself. Just makes your life a lot easier using the EBSCOs, ProQuest, Gale, Infobase, Canopy, systems that we do have, the Magnolia in general system that we do have. And again, it just makes your life a lot easier. You can use books, of course, but my advice when it comes to books is that you make sure that the publication date, the last edit date, the last revision date has been within the last 5 years. Now, having said that, if you're talking about general information, now with literature, I will say this, some of the best information you can find about literature is the stuff that was written about it immediately after it itself was written. So if you're dealing with works, and the newest of these works is Shakespearean in nature, you may want to find some extremely older stuff on it, and you have that ability. Totally fine to use it. In fact, in many cases, that is the best stuff, but I would still make sure that it's been a good quality edit job somewhere in the last 300, 400 years, or a couple thousand years in some of these cases. Again, that's on you, and you have to do that. Whereas anything in our database, it has already been taken care of for you. And if you do find eventually there is an issue, or even if, let's say, the information itself was accurate the moment you found it, but was not accurate the moment I graded it, that's not your problem, and it will not harm your grade. That's an us thing and a time. It happens sometimes. Things can change. This video is almost 25 minutes long, And something that may have been true when this video started might not be true by the time I hopefully finish it in a few minutes. But that's how fast things move. Again, that's not on you. It's all it was inaccurate the moment you found it. You're good to go. So again, my highest advice is to utilize a database. Of course, it must be done in MLA 8th edition with in-text parenthetical citations within it. And of course, a reminder, I shouldn't have to teach you this, but or tell you this even, but of course you should know under MLA 8 guidelines, any and all information does not come from your own brain. If it is directly quoted, paraphrased, meaning put in your own words, or summarized, condensing their words, you must source it. If that means you have to source 9 straight sentences, you source 9 straight sentences, either in the text of the sentence or in the parenthetical at the end of the information. Of course, you should all know how to properly do that by now, because if you got to this level without having to do an MLA 8th edition style essay or MLA any style essay up to this point, then that's a problem with us, and I need to know that to make sure and wonder who here isn't giving those type of essays. In general, the way we've been doing it lately is APA. We do MLA and APA framework in Comp 1 with an APA essay, learning how to source and cite in that area in Comp 1, and then we do an MLA 8th edition source and cite in Comp 2. So that you get both and teach how to do both those things. And then you get anything about that, you already know it, and we're not going to reteach it to you. Worst case scenario, go to Purdue OWL, go in the area that deals with MLA 8, and then look up how to do it there. Again, hopefully you already know how to do it. Unfortunately, what many times happens is you do just enough to know how to do it for the one thing you have to do it for, and then you didn't really learn how to do it. Well, in that case, you got to relearn it all over again on your own. So Purdue OWL website, MLA 8th edition, how to do a proper in-text and or parenthetical citations, and my advice is to do both. How to do a proper works cited page that the entries prompts are in alphabetical order. My advice is to have any and all of your sources have an author attached to where that last name prompt will be consistent between what is in either the text or the parenthetical citations, in text or parenthetical citations, that is then consistent to each of the prompts in the works cited page, which is always the first word of the entry, generally the last name of the author. So that'll just make your life a lot easier. But it must be an MLA 8th edition and must be source cited and done properly. So, and that is due December the 11th at 9:59 a.m. So Friday morning, 9:59 a.m. Do not lie to yourself. Do not lie to yourself. I've said it all semester, especially now. If you do not turn in a research essay, you fail the course. Both of these combined account for what becomes your final grade. And by the rules of what we have, if you do not do a final, one of two outcomes comes. If it's in a beginning course or a developmental studies course, you get an incomplete and you have to complete it, unless you're failing at the time, in which case you just get the F. Anything above and beyond that, for nice enough, we might put it incomplete there and let you finish it. If I'm not being nice enough, then you just fail the course. Because the research essay is mandatory, it must be done, and it is a part of the overall final. These two basically count for your final overall grade. I mean, it counts for, I do believe, 40% of the overall grade in this course. So truth of the matter is, if you didn't do either, you probably fail anyway. So you have to actually, you'd pretty much have to have 100 or 99 average on everything else to still pass with the roundup, and that'd be pretty possible. And none of you have it right now. Just tell you right now. So make sure it is done. Again, the easiest thing to do is what I just said, what I've told you. Take one of your essays that's already written, and therefore hopefully already 1,000 words, so some of you didn't meet that minimum requirement in this last essay, and therefore your grade reflected it. And then add the source material, because in all of the in-text or parenthetical parts of that sourcing and all the information that comes from that sourcing and any information in the works cited page also counts towards your word count. So if it happens to be a little short, it can push you over. Hopefully, and from what I saw, most of you did meet the 1,000 words. So unless you have some real edit cuts cutting things out, you've got your 1,000 words already, and then add that and you're above and beyond. Now, if you find out that one of the points of analysis that you put forth in the essay originally, and you did back it up, and then you do research and you find out that you can't find any information backing you up, or most of the information backs up something else completely different, that's fine. just take that information from your old essay, take it out, and then write a whole new paragraph on whatever the new information that you found, backed up with the source material. Because I like giving you the ability to come up with things yourself, but when you find out you're wrong about something, then you need to take out what was wrong and then put in something that is correct. In general, within analysis, you have to really screw things up, especially now that we're a lot more freer when it comes to what types of analysis and what areas in which we deal with in literature. It's a lot more freeing. The basic rule is as long as you can back it up. And that is why I do those things on the earlier essays and the real responses. But when it comes to a research essay, you need to be backed up. You need to have those learned scholars backing you up and the ideas that you have. And therefore, if your idea isn't backed up by anybody else, you take that idea out and put an idea in there that is backed up by somebody else, because you still need to have the learned scholar, the knowledgeable people who can then back up what you're putting forth. Because when it comes to the ultimate, and I teach this in my Comp 1s and Comp 2s and in developmental, even though they don't have research essays. When you have that information out there and your name is at the top of the page, your credibility is at stake when it comes to whatever comes under there. You're saying that everything below your name is of your own thoughts and ideas. That isn't, from a work of literature. So when you have the source material to back you up, you're having their name, which strengthens yours, because while your views are important and your information is credible for the sake of this class, in the overall scheme of things, you need that learned scholar to back you up. Your ideas are good, but you need them to back up to make it great, I guess you would say, because they're knowledgeable in the areas in which you are dealing with. The biggest mistake a lot of students make, and you shouldn't make that simply because you already have it all written out. In early Comp 2, they don't make it. But the biggest mistake a lot of students make is to assume that everything in the essay needs to be that source material. The source material is never to dominate your essay. You dominate your essay. For no other reason, your name's at the top of it. The source material is there to back you up. But when it's all said and done, the ultimate authority on anything in the essay that is not sourced to somebody else is you, and the only authority you need is the fact that your name is at the top of that page. That's all you need. So make sure you do all what needs to be done in having that information to back you up, because their authority then gives you authority, and that's the ultimate key, that you are worthy enough that somebody is to read your work because you came up with stuff, and then somebody else who's learned an area backs you up, and that's all you need. That's all you need to be the ultimate authority in anything that would come up in your essay. And believe it or not, if somebody liked what you have written with your ideas backed up with the other people, they could easily source you. Probably unlikely for a sophomore level essay, but maybe one day, and as you keep working on things like this, it will be backed up, and it will be something that somebody else would look at and want to use your work for their essays. So, which can happen sometimes. Actually happened to, not me personally, that somebody sourced my work, but I was writing an essay in grad school, and the ultimate authority on a certain author's works has happened to be not only my professor in the class, but my advisor. So I asked, okay, is it too much brown nosing that I source you because you're one of only a few people dealing with this author? And she's like, well, if I'm one of the main people, you have to use mine. It's, we have to act like I'm somebody else in that sense, which, is probably pretty cool for her. She is the ultimate authority on the author, Tim O'Brien. Other than Tim O'Brien himself happened to be my advisor at grad school in Arkansas State. So it was pretty cool that I could use her work. Believe it or not, that could be you one day. Put forth what you need to put forth and back it up with quality sourcing and quality information. Again, people will learn in the areas you're dealing with and have never had an issue with academic integrity. Then you're good to go. And that's it. Believe it or not, those are the only two things that you have left in this course. Sorry this video is as long as it is, but I needed both to go off on that little rant because one of you, actually more than one of you, did some things that I wasn't very happy with in this last essay. So that's why I went off on those rants. But I also wanted to be as thorough as possible when it comes to the Theme of the Truth quiz and all what needs to go on it. And of course, with the Theme of the Truth quiz, your computer must be able to allow respond to select down browser, and you must have a webcam. If it doesn't allow either, you have to go to a different computer and do it. You must be able to do both, or else it will not let you take the quiz and you fail. So on that one, make sure you have that capabilities. That means don't wait till the last minute to do this damn thing. Go ahead and do it. Well, watch the video, and then do it. And if you see some issues or it's not allowing you to do it, then you've got to go, go somewhere where it allows you to do it. Because if you don't do it, regardless if the issue is your technology or whatever it is, you have a 0. So make sure that gets done, and then make sure the research essay is done as well. And believe it or not, your last bit of work is before 10 a.m. on Friday. Your last work will be in. That day I will grade everything. I will put the numbers in, put the letters in, block up everything, and that's the class. Believe it or not. Less than 3 days, technically, less than 72 hours from now. In fact, I hope about 72 hours from this very moment, I would be finishing the last of all the grading and all the plugging in of numbers and letters, and I'm done with your class. So do quality work. Most of you are doing really well, but some of you are starting to fall off a little. Get across the finish line. Get everything done as we get on. Get across the finish line. Relax and enjoy yourself. Once you're done, do whatever you want in your own life, however you need to do it, but get across. I don't see that issue as much in the fall as much as I do in the spring, because the spring has whole things dealing with, close to graduation. The weather's much nicer. If you're a freshman, senioritis creeps in, even though you're not a senior. There are no seniors at community college for many reasons, but not as much of an issue now, but just to make sure it doesn't become an issue, get everything you need done, do high quality, and get through all of my class and all of your other classes that you will have. And then no later than Wednesday of next week, you should be done with everything, and then enjoy yourself however you see fit. But make sure you get done all the things that need to get done. This will be the last video I send because the class ends Friday. I hope you all do well, not just in my class, but in all of your classes. Keep up the good work, those who've done the good work. Those who fell off a little bit, get yourself back in gear and finish up strong. I hope you all avoid this, the coronavirus. It looks like it's picking up major. I'm starting to see that pick up with my students. And by the way, if you end up with coronavirus, we can definitely work around things. Trust me. I, of all people, understand that because of how it's affected me, or whatever this virus has affected me. They still haven't told me it's that, but let's be real, it's that. And we can work around things if that becomes an issue. But hopefully none of you get it, because you don't want this. And hopefully you do well and you finish out strong, and then you can enjoy your break how you see fit. So hope you're all well, and since I will not be sending another video, I may see you around. If I don't, enjoy your break.